Magazine.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Brian Holiday here for City Net Magazine, and we're here at Montreal Comiccon 2024 with the one and only Melinda Clarke.
Hi.
What draws you to the particular roles that you've had? You've been on the OC, you've done Nikita. Those are very like the characters are larger than life. They're like and very specific. And what drew you to them when you saw the scripts?
Well, it's interesting. It's like what came first, the chicken or the egg. You, as a young actor, and if you're lucky enough to have representation, they will throw anything at the wall to see what sticks. Yeah. And if you routinely are cast in similar roles, then you become known for something. Originally on the OC, I read for the part of Kirsten, and they brought me back for the role of Julie. And at the time, she was the original, I guess, stereotypical housewife of Orange County. Yeah. She was the character that you now see on those TV shows, more so even. Well, I guess Kirsten was as well, but Julie was described as plastic surgery, juicy sweatsuits, and all that kind of stuff, and just very, very superficial. And even though my daughter will say, you're not like Julie Cooper, but in some ways the humor was the closest to me in real life, and she had a lot of fun. Now, Amanda was a very strong character, but basically a sociopath. And but villains. I guess she definitely was the villain. Even Julie filled the role as villain for a while, until she wasn't anymore. And in fact, at some point, they said she's not villainous enough. We want that Desperate Housewife thing. I think what's interesting is my whole life I have that. I have the original resting bitch face. Can't say that. No, okay. But but if you say, and even my daughter will say, it's like, I know that I have a face that can convey either strength or scary or threatening, when in fact I'm hopefully not like that. So I sometimes go out of my way to smile. Yeah. So it's not. But they're strong women, and so often in your life you're like, I'm not this strong, but then you realize, I don't know, I've gotten to an age where I really have I like that confidence and I like that strength.
Well, I was going to say, like, my best friend and I talked about your character recently because he just did a rewatch of the OC, and we talked about the fact that, like, you and Brenda on 90210, like, the kind of characters who are seen as villainous but are ultimately, and, both him and I both had realized, like, I think we're into that character, the slightly villainous, but ultimately it kind of felt like, in a way, they're trying to show that strength and villainy together, and this weird tie-in, and we were like, is that bad, or is that just that we realized that's hot?
It's interesting, as an actor, you would never, sometimes you can't get around it, but it's important as that, and I always say this, I never play a villain as a villain. Mm-hmm. Villains don't think they just think they're in the right. Mm-hmm. They have the confidence and the strength to carry it out, and Julie was a survivor. Right. I don't care what anyone thinks. Also, what we found, because Rachel Bilson and I did a rewatch podcast of the Welcome to the OC Bitches, what we found was, and now people were rewatching, that if you were watching as a teenager, if you were in high school, of course Julie's the bitchy mom. But if you watched as an adult, from the perspective of an adult, you were like, hell yes, you need some rehab and therapy. Yeah. You're acting out. Yeah. But Julie wasn't saying, hey, maybe I should work on my parenting skills. A lot of people were coming around and saying, of course she doesn't want her, she's going to try and control her daughter because she doesn't want her to end up with a guy from Riverside, where Julie was from, type, or end up with a guy who forced Julie into doing pornos. It's like she's coming from wisdom and all this, but it's really interesting as our narratives change as we get older, our perspectives change, and also, of course, Julie had one of the most interesting arcs on the whole show.
Yeah.
And I realized she was happiest when she was in the trailer park. Now, you can't, what did I say? You can take the gold off Julie, but you can't take the gold digger out of her. So she was like, I'm going to Neil Roberts' house. Thank you. Trailer park. Thank you. But no.
Thank you so much. This is Brian Holiday for CityNet Magazine. We'll be back with another one. Peace.